We're here in London Music Hall in London, Ontario with one of Dreamville's own. You may have recognized him from a verse on Enchanted. Please introduce yourself, sir.
What up? My name is Omen, Shy City's finest Dreamville affiliate. And yeah, Enchanted was a special one. That was like, I think one of my best verses. And like, I think the internet and just the people who heard it, like, I got a lot of attention from that verse. So I really appreciated that.
I wanted to begin tonight by going and looking at some of your early influences, some of the albums that have really meant a lot to you. Okay. So I thought I'd start with one that is another of my personal favorites as well, Mos Def and Talib Kweli's Black Star.
Oh, for sure.
Tell me about that album and its significance to you.
I don't know. I heard that in a time when, like, I had already kind of been on Nas and Common and Jay and all the staples. But that came at a point where, like, I was kind of searching for something new, something else, because I played those albums to death. And it was just, like, so refreshing to hear, like, it was just unique. That Mos had his own style, Talib had his own style, and what they were talking about, like, you know, you're at a time, I was young. I was, like, at a time in my life where I was, like, searching for truth and, like, trying to figure out the world, and, like, I felt like they had the answers. Like, even if they didn't, it felt like that. Like, and I think a lot of people go through periods of their life, you know, with music, where they feel like, you know, you're searching for something, and you feel like music or these musicians or these rappers or these artists are speaking exactly what you feel. So, like, I just remember hearing specifically Thieves in the Night. Mos Def's verse on that was just so amazing to me. Kweli's verse was dope too, but Mos's verse is one of my favorite verses ever on that. It was just like, it was speaking so much truth that I was just listening to it, like, this guy's so deep, you know, like. But it was just, I just remember that was an amazing time. I actually just watched Block Party the other day, Dave Chappelle. I've seen it before, but I just watched it again. I just re-got all of those feelings from seeing. I was like, just thinking, like, man, I wish they could do this again one day with, like, the new crop of artists. But yeah, that was an amazing album. And then obviously, of course, came Black on Both Sides, and then Reflection Eternal, Quality, New Danger. Like, all of those albums came out after that were just amazing. So we were just talking about this on the bus about how, like, when is the resurgence of that going to come? Like, when is that sound going to come back? But yeah, I don't even know how you know I was listening to that album, but that was an amazing album.
Let's get into another album influence then for you, The Roots, Illadelph Half-Life. Tell me about that one. That
was I actually got on that late, because the Roots album that I was really loving was Things Fall Apart. That was like, I just remember that. It was the same kind of time in my life, just like searching for something new, and that was like an amazing album. I used to play that album so much, and I was late on the Roots. So, like, I'm listening to Black Thought, I'm listening to Malik, Questlove, obviously all of them, and then because of that album, it made me want to go back and hear everything else they did. So, like, some people that were older than me would tell me, like, oh, you got to hear Illadelph Half-Life. So I went back and heard that, and I was just, like, blown away. Because it just, you know what it was? Even with the Black Star album, like, I grew up listening to Tribe just because my uncle was a DJ. So he used to play all of these older artists that, like, I wasn't up on. He would put me on to, like, Rakim and Tribe Called Quest. And I naturally kind of fell in love with the jazzy hip-hop. So I think the Roots and the Black Star and Common, all of that was like the resurgence of that jazzy sound. So, and they was doing it the best. You know, Black Star was doing it the best. The Roots were doing it the best. So that Illadelph Half-Life, that was just another staple album for me, because not only was the music incredible, but the raps. I mean, Black Thought was going in on every single verse, and he had, like, it wasn't just about punchlines or flow. Like, he had the best delivery at the time. Probably still to this day, at least live. Like, he's probably one of the best live performers, Black Thought. And that was just a period of my life where I was studying. I was studying everybody. I was studying Black Thought. I was studying Mos. I was studying Quality. I was studying Nas. I was studying Common. I was studying Dilla. I was just in study mode. I still study to this day, but that's when I was really, like, trying to figure out what makes these people good. What makes these people better than everybody else. And, like, that was just another album. It was a particular song I used to play so much on that album. I can't remember the name of it, because it wasn't like a single. It was like a Sessions or something with an S. It was, anyway, that was an amazing album. But yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned Common, because that was the last album I want to ask you about before we get into your own career. Common, being that you're from the south side of Chicago, tell me about the significance of Common's Resurrection to you and how you would have come across that album.
Other than Illmatic, and probably It Was Written, I've never played any album more. Like, I used to literally play that album every day, all day. I remember riding the train in Chicago, and even when I moved to New York, I was on the train. I just remember playing that all day, over repeat, the entire album, just trying to study and trying to figure out, because it was so much. Common don't get a lot of credit. He gets credit, but he don't get the credit he deserves for real, because I feel like most of the Common fans now, they know him from B. They know him from like his albums after B when he worked with Kanye, and those are all dope albums. But like for me at least, his heyday was like Resurrection and One Day It All Makes Sense, and like those albums were like pivotal for me, because Resurrection especially like introduced me to wordplay. Like I knew about like flow and like punchlines and like, you know, the storytelling, but Common was doing like, I think what a lot of people appreciate Lupe for now is like the extended metaphor, which is like a metaphor that's not just one line. It's like the entire verse is a metaphor, or half the verse is a metaphor. Like he was doing that on Resurrection, and I was just listening to it like, how is he writing this? How is he writing it where every single line is a metaphor, but it still makes sense as one whole verse? And like, to this day, I could listen to that album and get something new from it. And it was the same thing. It was the jazzy hip hop. You know, that was No ID that did that whole album. I think maybe Doug Infinite, some other people on there. But that was just, I just remember hearing that album. I think for me it was more pivotal because, like you said, this is another guy who was from the south side of Chicago. And it's like, Chicago didn't have that many mainstream artists. So when we got somebody that was good, it was like, I'm riding with him. You know, like, and it was like, Chicago, at least at that time, it's still kind of segregated, but at that time, it was really like, you had your south side Chicago people and you had your west side Chicago people. And then the north siders didn't get any respect, unfortunately. But like, I was a south side, and we always looked at the west siders as like wild, and like, that was like Crucial Conflict and like Do or Die and Twister. They rap fast, so it was a different kind of style. Where Common was like, on my young mind, he was more real hip hop because he was rapping a certain way, and he was like real to me. But later I grew to appreciate all of them. But it felt like for the first time I was listening to somebody that's like me, that was going through the same things I was going through. He had a song called Book of Life where he was just talking about getting older as a guy and his confusion. The same thing as I was talking about, like the confusion about the world. He was talking about this in his songs. And like, I think it was for me, like when somebody's from New York and they heard Jay or Nas mentioning street corner names, like I could listen to Nas and appreciate him. And to this day, Nas is my favorite, but it's different when somebody's saying street names from your block or your neighborhood or telling stories that you know happened on the news in your city. It was just way more relatable. It was like close to home. So for sure, Common and Nas were like my biggest influences, like to this day, probably, rap-wise.
Something people may not know about you is your own family history in music. Yeah. What can you tell me about 21st Century?
Oh, wow. That's amazing. But 21st Century was my dad. My dad was a singer. He still sings. He's an incredible singer, one of the best singers I've ever heard. Not because he's my father, but like he was signed to a Motown group called 21st Century. I think it was signed to, they changed their name from 21st Century to 21st Creation. But he was the lead singer. He sounded just like Michael Jackson. You know, just child, like throwback sweetheart, heartthrob. I mean, like, you know, you had all those groups back there. You had the Jackson 5, you had the Silvers, some other ones I'm forgetting, I'm sure. But they all had a similar sound at the time. And that was just another group like that. But they were known for this one big hit called Remember the Rain. And it's been sampled so many times in hip-hop. But that's just, I think that's where a lot of my passion for the music came from. Even if, like, we didn't even grow up together, me and my dad. Like, he wasn't, like, we have a good relationship, but he wasn't, like, him and my mom were together. So, but my mom sang. She didn't really pursue it, but she sang, she could sing. My stepdad is a guitarist, a bassist, a pianist, a singer. You know, I got like 6 photographers. I got a video producer. It's all type of creativity in my family. So all of that surrounded me and just influenced me. And I really didn't even pursue music. Like I played piano and I would like write here and there, but I didn't take it seriously till late. Like I don't know. I was really had my hoop dreams, like every other black guy in Chicago, or at least in the city. Like I had my hoop dreams. I was a tall guy. I could play, but it's like I was ignoring music for some reason. And then finally one day I was like, I started realizing I really like this. I really like writing. And then writing turned into, I'm tired of getting other beats from people. I want to learn how to make my own beats. And it just developed to a passion that I never had for anything else. And, you know, I credit that to my family, whether it's like a direct or subliminal or not. But, like, I don't think I would be as passionate about it if I didn't have, you know, that background of my father or my mom playing, you know, Jackson 5, the Beatles, Prince, and my stepdad playing Sting and Joni Mitchell and all these different types of music in my household that like inspired me. So yeah, that it started with, I guess, 21st century for sure.
And so when you became more serious about the music, that was when, high school or college, or?
It was actually college. I was late. I was writing in high school. Like I was in a rap group actually in high school called Area 51, because I was from a neighborhood called Hyde Park, and we all lived on like 51st Street. And at the time, I think as some people know, I was a huge Cannabis fan. Like, I was such a diehard Cannabis fan. Like, I was just a nerd for Cannabis. Like, he was the greatest to me. So, like, and for all these people in this group, we all felt the same way. So, you know, Cannabis used to talk about a lot of, like, science and, like, extraterrestrial things. So we just thought it was perfect. Like, Area 51. Like, it's such a corny name, but we thought it was perfect. So it was like, it was me, I'm trying to remember all the group numbers. Me, Napalm, Illmad, Crisis, and j.cole. It was like 5 of my boys. And we just all used to like sit around writing. We had like a little boom box. We didn't have no mic, but the boom box had like, you could record it to the speaker. So we had to like lie down and like rap into the boom box. It's extra ghetto, but like it was just fun for us, you know, and freestyling around the house or after school. That's how I really started developing the passion for it without even knowing. It was just fun for me. Like if I wasn't hooping, I would probably be doing that or playing video games. But like that's where it started for me. And then later, when people started telling me like, yo, you're actually good. Like, you're really good. When I was on these forums online, on the Cannabis forum where I actually met Cole, like, and people on there were like praising everything I was writing. These aren't even audio battles. These are like text battles I was writing, but I was getting praised so much that it made me start thinking like, wait, maybe I'm actually good. And then I actually started recording, and like my friends were like, yo, because I never had really like yes man around me. Like all my friends were always real with me, like, nah, you shouldn't do that. That sucks. Or look, that's actually dope. So once I started hearing them say like, yo, that's actually fire. Like, you're good. Like you actually can really rap. It made me start taking it a lot more serious. And at the same time, my passion for basketball started going farther down. I think just because like I realized like, damn, I'm not finna go to NBA. Like reality started to hit me. So like I had to look and think like, okay, what else do you really like? Like, and I just had to really come to face like, yo, I really like music. Like, I've been playing piano all this time. Like, I've been writing songs. Like, why don't you actually try to see if you actually can do this for real? So it hit me a little late, but I kind of been doing it the whole time without knowing.
Production-wise, then, did you start on the piano, or what was your first taste of producing? What software or hardware would you have been using?
I had piano lessons in high school, so fortunately, it's weird. I never even thought about this till recently. How fortunate I was. We had a piano in my house, and I'm like, how many families have a piano? At least where I'm from, you don't have no piano in your house. So like, we had a piano in my house because like I said, my stepdad was a musician. So when I had these lessons in high school, I could come home and practice like 2 hours a day on just fingering and scales, and I was really into it. But like I said, I wasn't even aware that like, it's like you have to really be into something if you're gonna come home and practice 2 hours a day on your own. But I wasn't even aware of that. But anyway, I would say it started with that, and then later when I started like really taking music more serious, when I started feeling like I actually like rap, and I got tired of like stealing beats off the internet, but I didn't have my beats on my own. And like this type of person I am, I don't like asking people for anything. So like I was like, I need to learn how to make beats. So basically, I hit my boy Volley, he goes by Volatile, who's an amazing artist himself. He was using Fruity Loops at the time. So I hit him up like, yo, you got to teach me how to use this. I had tried plenty times, but it just looked too confusing. So he like taught me a few tips over the phone, and I spent like a whole summer kind of like Kanye say, like 5 beats a day for 3 summers. Like I did that. I made like 7, 8. I was staying up till 7 a.m. to go to sleep till 11 and make beats. Like I was just obsessed. Like I don't even know why. I was just obsessed with learning how to make beats. So like I started on Fruity Loops, and I was on that for years, just like learning what makes this a good drum sound, what makes this a good drum pattern, studying Pete Rock, studying Dilla, studying the Neptunes, Timbaland. I'm sure there's plenty of people I'm forgetting. Dre. Studying all these amazing producers and just learning like, okay, how did they get this bass to sound like this? How did they get the keys to do this? Like just all the little things that people don't even notice. And at first it kind of messed me up, because once you start learning, you start listening to music differently. Like I started hearing songs on the radio like that I would have normally liked, like, oh, I don't like that snare drum, or I don't like that hi-hat. Like it kind of ruined music for me at first, and I had to get over that. Like, look, just enjoy the music. Like, so it started with Fruity Loops, and I was on that for a long time, and that was kind of like my stomping ground, I guess, for learning. And later I got on Logic, and then now I use Reaper. But to me, it don't really matter what you use. It's just how you use it. You know, like I think Ninth Wonder showed that with Fruity Loops, just all the classics he made with that. So yeah, it's like it started with Fruity Loops though, but now I'm on Reaper. So.
Being that you're from Chicago, and in the South Side in particular, what's your take on the term Chiraq?
I get why people say it. It's like a fun, popular thing to say. I personally don't really like the term, because it's like, to me, it just like it's a reality there. Like it is murder and crime, and like as bad as people think Chicago is today, it was way worse when I was a kid. Like this is actually better. As terrible as it is, this is way better than when I was growing up. Like this, if you look at the statistics or whatever, like they actually just did a report about. They said Chicago's murder rate is down from like the most it's ever been since like the 1960s or something. Yet Chicago's getting known for murder all the time. So that just shows you how bad it actually was. But like I get why, you know, it's like a cool little thing to say, like Chiraq. I get it, but I think saying that, it just kind of perpetuates that this is what it is, instead of like what can it be? Like what could it be? It could be something else. It could be better than this. It could be more. So I don't know. I got mixed feelings. Like I see why people say it, and I probably would have said it too if I was in high school. But a little older now, I feel like we could say something better. You know, we could focus on what it could be instead of what it is. So that's how I feel.
I was speaking to another artist from Chicago's South Side about this. You may or may not know him, Ad2,
yeah, I know
from
Ad2.
Chicago. So, and he was saying, you know, what needs to be changed is, he was saying, I guess, the family needs to come back, the community structure needs to come back, and there needs to be jobs available for people. What do you think is missing or needs to? What is the solution?
If I had that, I wouldn't be rapping. Like I would be doing something else. I would be a politician or like a community organizer. But one thing I do notice, and this is just from me going to college. I remember I got to college, and I noticed everything I had available to me. I had a gymnasium. We had rec centers. We had a library. We had amenities. We had like all these different options. Whereas when I went back to Chicago, I had the playground and a liquor store. That was my only options. It's like I could go, when I go outside, what's a little kid when he goes outside? Once you get grown, you're not going on the swings or the slide. So what do? It's like, okay, I'm gonna get in the streets because it's really nothing to do. So like, if you're not a good basketball player, which everybody can't be, and you don't play baseball or whatever, like, you're going to find trouble because that's all that's available to you. So I think really it's just about providing options for the community. It's like I did a little panel at this school called DePaul in Chicago, and I was telling the students that I was like, yo, like, it's people that lived in the DePaul neighborhood or that Chicago neighborhood that didn't have any access to the campus amenities. They couldn't go to that gymnasium. They couldn't go to the library. They couldn't go to those restaurants. They couldn't go to the hospital to get the college health care. They couldn't do any of that. But it's in Chicago, in their neighborhood. And it's like, it's something wrong with that. It's something a little twisted about that to me. So, you know, I just think it's like providing options for people. If you stick a little 14-year-old kid in the ghetto and all he can do is go to the liquor store or the court, he's going to find trouble. Like, ain't nothing for him to do. So, you know, I just think it's about people kind of developing a better standard, like demanding that we have this in our neighborhood. If they got this, if they got a Super Walmart, why do we have this? If they got organic apples and organic health food stores, why do we have McDonald's on every corner? Like, it's about demanding a different standard for your neighborhood. I think it starts with that. I don't know if that's the answer or solution. Like I said, if I really had the solution, I wouldn't be a rapper. I would be something a little more effective. But I think it starts with that for sure.
There's a tweet of yours I want to ask you about, a piece of trivia. You say, fun fact, I also stayed at Muhammad's crib. Is there truth to that, or tell me the story?
No, it's definitely true. And so many people have stayed at Muhammad's crib. Yeah, Muhammad's crib. Muhammad's crib is legendary. When I first moved to New York, this was like, when I moved to New York, this may have been like 2009. This is like when Cole first got his deal. I first stayed in Harlem. I was staying with my girl at the time. And then I eventually moved out, and I moved into, I think Cole had just moved out, and I moved into Muhammad crib. And it's like, that's just a spot that everybody's gone to when you needed a spot to stay in. That's like, I feel like almost everybody in Dreamville at one point has stayed in Muhammad's crib, and he just held us down, you know. Like, I don't know. That's a cool little story. Muhammad's the man.
Being that we're speaking about j.cole, and we opened by talking about your verse on Enchanted, I want to ask you about a line on that song, and you say, I think my foolish pride may become my suicide. Yeah. Dig into that line and what inspired that.
That's just really me being, it's just a personal anecdote about who I am just as a person. Like, the kind of person I am, like remember I said earlier, like, I don't like to ask anybody for anything. So sometimes you need to ask people for things. Like, sometimes it's cool to ask for help, but like, I'm so prideful sometimes that I'm like, I can do it myself, or I find a way to do it, or I don't want to come off this certain way. And I really think, that's like a Chicago mentality. We're like always on guard because of the way we grow up, and it's like you got to kind of always be wary of your environment, of like, is this person trying to harm me, or is this person think I'm in a gang? You always kind of got to be wary and on guard, and I think that puts up a certain wall and a certain like sense of pride, a foolish pride that you don't always need to have, and it can lead to, like, obviously not suicide, but like it can lead to your downfall. So that's really all that line meant, is like, sometimes I can be too prideful, and I actually play off that thing more on my upcoming project on Elephant Eyes. I play more off that line actually, but that's all. It was just something I thought it sounded cool, but it was also truthful. So that's where that came from.
I think it's interesting to talk about pride because I had another conversation with a rapper from Canada by the name of Shad. I don't know if you're familiar, if Shad is really popular in the States or not, but he was saying that two of the greatest evils to him are fear and pride. So pride, and then one of the things that you've talked about is people struggling with the fear of success.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you elaborate on that? People struggling with the fear of success.
Yeah, I think it's not something you normally think about, because you think like everybody wants success. Like, of course, who doesn't want success? And I think everybody does kind of want to be successful, but sometimes you have a fear of like your own potential. You have a fear of like actually, I'm reaching, I'm doing good, I'm getting everything I wanted. Now what? Like, can I handle it? Can I sustain it? Can I uphold it? Like, it's almost like if somebody gets a hit record it's like, oh, I got to make another one. I gotta keep the people like satisfied. So I think that a lot of Afraid of Heights was about that. It's like sometimes you know you're talented, you know you worthy, you know all of that, but it's still something inside of you that holds you back from like attaining it, and it's really fear of like everything you think that comes with that success. So it could be like a loss of privacy, or it could be, who knows, people with bad intentions around you. Like, it's a lot of different things, a lot of different factors that could come into play. But I just think fear of success. I was really into that at the time because it was like I felt like nobody ever touched on that for real, not in a big way. So that's all that was really about. Okay. I don't think personally, I don't think I have that anymore. But yeah, at the time, at least a couple years ago, I kind of felt that, and I just wanted to really make that a theme.
Tell me about the significance of this quote to you then. Keep your eyes open to all possibilities. Don't think that things are supposed to happen one way.
Yeah, I think.
Well, and who gave you that advice, first of all?
I don't know. Maybe my mom or something I read.
That's who I have it quoted from, is your mom.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that act. You said, yeah, I think it was on just a phone. My mom is like super positive, like the most positive person in the world. So like, she's always saying things like that to me. But I took it to mean like once you try to say it has to happen this way, you place yourself in a box, and you kind of limit yourself from what other ways it could possibly happen that you're not even thinking about. You know, like if you say, oh, I gotta put out an album and it's gotta be amazing, it's gotta be classic, it's gotta be go #1, that's how I want my career to go. If that doesn't happen, then what? Like, you kind of crush, instead of you saying, I want to have an incredible career. And that kind of allows, I'm really into like the universe and things lining up and like all of that. So like, if you just say something a little more general and more broad, I want to have an incredible career. I want my album to be incredible. I want it to be laid out and inspire and affect people. You don't know the path that it'll take to happen like that. And I think allowing yourself that kind of leeway, you just allow yourself the opportunity for more things to come to you instead of you saying it has to happen this way. And if it doesn't happen that way, it blinds you from seeing all the other ways it could have happened. So I think that's all that really means.
Before we wrap things up, you mentioned your album Elephant Eyes, or your project Elephant Eyes, coming out this year. What can you tell us about that right now?
It's pretty much done. It's like maybe 95% done. It's just some small little tweaks. It's like getting like piano here or strings here or background vocals here. Maybe replacing 1 or 2 songs, but it's really pretty much done, and I'm just really proud of it because it's like I definitely feel like it's a step up from everything I've done, from production-wise to writing-wise to flow-wise, concepts. The storytelling, I think, is a lot better. And not to say that I didn't enjoy Afraid of Heights or Glorious Cool, any of those things I've done, but I just think it shows a lot of growth. And it's like, even delivery-wise, like a song like Enchanted or Mama Told Me that I love, I felt like I was at that time, I felt like I had to scream or holler to show emotion. Whereas now I'm like, to me, it's almost like a bad actor. Like when he's angry, he's like, like, you don't have to do that. You could really just show you're angry through conviction and certain emotion and delivering your lines a different way. So I think even in my delivery has grown. And just the reactions I've gotten from people around me. I've never gotten these reactions from just my own team. You know, just from them, they're excited. So I'm really excited to put that out and just really touch the people with that. So yeah, for sure it's coming out. I don't have a specific date. I kind of have a date in mind, but I already put a date out that passed. I don't want to do that again. If I put a date out again, I want it to be that's the date. But it's definitely coming soon, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Any final words from you?
I appreciate the opportunity for this interview and be on the lookout for Elephant Eyes for sure, and much more. We got a lot of stuff coming just with Dreamville in general. Just to like, I think this is the year that like our fan base, Dreamville's fan base, is really like they've been waiting for us to really go hard, and like this is about to happen. So I'm really excited.